It was exactly 3 a.m., and the glaring cold light of my phone screen illuminated my quiet bedroom. I had woken up in the middle of the night, reaching for my phone with a heavy heart, just wanting to read her goodnight message one more time. But when I opened that unfamiliar dating app, the chat history was completely gone. Her profile picture, the one with the warm smile that I had looked at 100 times, had vanished without a trace. The screen simply said, "Account deleted." My stomach dropped as I tried calling her number, only to hear the dead silence of a disconnected line. I never thought I'd be here at 62, staring at my phone in a quiet living room, realizing that the woman I had been pouring my heart out to had completely ghosted me. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened next, how that match changed more than just my calendar, and why sometimes life's hardest lessons come when you least expect them. Stay tuned, because the way she hooked me is a hidden trap that could happen to anyone sitting alone in a quiet house. Before that swipe ever happened, my life had settled into a quiet rhythm I barely noticed anymore. A rhythm of morning coffee in the same chair, evenings with reruns on TV, and weekends filled with errands and silence. I wasn't unhappy exactly, just comfortable in a way that felt more like routine than fulfillment. My children had grown and moved on with their own lives. Friends were married or busy with grandchildren, and I found myself glancing at my phone more often than I'd like to admit, waiting for something to break the stillness. I didn't crave romance so much as connection, that simple human warmth you only realize you miss when it's gone. That's where my story really begins, in the quiet moments before I took a chance on something new. If you've ever felt that unexpected spark, even after years of quiet, stick with me, because this is where the real story begins. When I first saw her profile, I didn't expect much. I'll admit, part of me thought it might be just another wasted click, just another reminder that maybe I was done with that chapter of life. But as we messaged back and forth, something felt different. For the first time in a long while, I found myself looking forward to a conversation, not out of boredom, but because it genuinely lifted my spirits. I told myself I wasn't chasing love exactly, but maybe simply companionship. A person who understood what it's like to grow older without losing the part of you that still hopes. Profiles with warm smiles, snippets about favorite books, and jazzy playlists stared back at me, and before I knew it, what started as small chat turned into something I couldn't ignore. Stay tuned, because in the next part, I'll tell you about the illusion that changed everything. I remember those early weeks of conversation like it was yesterday, not because they were perfect, but because they felt real in a way I hadn't felt in years. Even though we hadn't met in person yet, we shared stories about our lives, laughed at the things that made us human, and found comfort in simple things. How our eyes lit up talking about music we loved, or how we both enjoyed slow Sunday mornings. She sent messages that made me feel like we were sitting at a small cafe near the park, a place with big windows and the smell of fresh coffee in the air. There were no grand gestures, no fireworks, just two souls discovering ease in each other's company. If you are watching this and finding yourself nodding along because you also long for that gentle silence that doesn't feel awkward but full of possibility, please hit that subscribe button right now. And if you've ever wondered what makes a connection truly dangerous, stick around. Next, I'm going to tell you about a moment that changed everything for me. By the third week, something unexpected happened. Not fireworks or dramatic confessions, but a quiet moment that shifted everything. She sent me a message with a soft earnestness I hadn't seen before, saying something simple. I enjoy this ease with you. It wasn't a grand declaration, just a small truth, but it landed deeply. That moment became my turning point. I realized I wasn't just enjoying good company, I was allowing myself to care again. Before that night, dating had felt like a tentative experiment. After it, everything felt real and worth pursuing, not just pleasant. If you think a small comment can't change everything, wait till you hear how that night ended. Just when everything felt like it could gently unfold, I hit a bump I didn't expect. After a few weeks of easy conversations and sincere laughter, a misunderstanding crept in. Not dramatic, but enough to stir doubt. She started making excuses about why we couldn't do video calls, and whenever I asked to meet in person, she mentioned feeling uncertain about the future. I, caught off guard, reacted defensively instead of listening to my own intuition. Suddenly, what had felt effortless required something harder: patience and honest communication. That moment became the first real conflict in our story, and it forced me to confront parts of myself I didn't want to admit was still there. Fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood, fear that opening up again would somehow hurt me. True connection, I learned, wasn't just about shared laughs and easy Sunday walks. It was about navigating real challenges together and learning not to run from discomfort. Stick around, because the way this conflict resolved is the ultimate red flag every senior needs to know about. The breaking point finally arrived under the cover of darkness. After building all that emotional trust, her messages suddenly shifted from sweet check-ins to a frantic plea for financial help, claiming she was in a bind. When I refused to send the money and demanded we meet face-to-face, the warmth instantly vanished. And then at 3 a.m., she ghosted me. When I look back on what this relationship taught me, it wasn't the cliches you hear in movies. It was something quieter, but far more powerful. I learned that connection in later life isn't just about shared interests. It's about true emotional reciprocity, a two-way exchange where both people show up with vulnerability and honesty. Research shows that older adults often see relationships in a more positive light and experience fewer negative emotions around conflict than younger people do, because we've learned how to value what really matters and let go of what doesn't. What I hadn't expected was how much being willing to be seen, and flaws and all, could deepen a bond, but you cannot build that bond with a scammer hiding behind a screen. It forced me to confront parts of myself I buried years ago and showed me that opening up, even when it feels risky, can bring a sense of meaning and fulfillment that simple routine never could. That realization changed how I view relationships, not as optional extras to life, but as essential sources of joy and growth. What this relationship ultimately reminded me, beyond love, beyond companionship, is how vital connection truly is as we age. Research consistently shows that strong social ties in older adults are linked with better mental and physical health, a greater sense of belonging, and even a lower risk of serious problems like heart disease and cognitive decline. Simply interacting with others isn't just pleasant. It's good for the brain, mood, and overall well-being. What I learned is that the conversations we have, the walks we take together, and the moments we share don't just fill time. They enrich life, making our later years more meaningful and vibrant. But those moments must be shared with someone real, someone who is willing to step out of the digital shadows and into the light with you. Looking back on all of this, I realized something important. Connection matters more than comfort. Research shows that older adults with strong social ties tend to be healthier, mentally sharper, and even live longer than those who stay isolated, because human connection reduces loneliness and supports well-being across body and mind. What I experienced wasn't just a painful scam. It was proof that choosing to reach out, to share, and to stay engaged can change your life in ways you never expected, as long as you protect your heart. So before we wrap this up, I want to ask you, have you ever ignored a red flag in a relationship because you were tired of the silence in your home? Leave a comment below and let me know. Because sometimes connection starts with a single step, and your story might just save someone else.